In this video, I'm going to tell you 10 reasons why you should have more than one art journal. When I started art journaling about 7 years ago, I saw people having multiple art journals. And I thought, why would you need more than one art journal? I couldn't wrap my head around it. 7 years later, I've got multiple art journals all on the go. But before we start, let me tell you what I mean when I say the word art journal. I, of course, mean the book journals, the pre-purchased ones, but I'm not limiting myself to journals that are in the form of a book. Basically, I'm meaning any substrate where you have multi-pages. So art journals can be any size, any shape. They include the purchased journals. These are the ones I use, the Canson Mixed Media. They include, for me, art journals that are made out of gel prints. Art journals that I've made out of a cereal box and put signatures into. They include journals that I've made from flyers and pamphlets. Journals that I've made out of envelopes or tags. Journals or mini zines that I've taken one sheet of collage paper and folded it and made it into a mini zine. It includes journals that I've made out of old recipe binders, or journals that I've repurposed a composition book. So why have more than one art journal? Reason number one, to use different types of paper. You might want to use watercolor paper, craft color, manila, tag, mixed media paper, cardstock, scrapbook paper. Different papers are going to respond differently to the different mediums. So if I want to use watercolor, I really should have watercolor paper. Now that doesn't mean you have to have a watercolor journal and a craft color journal and separate journals along those lines, although you definitely could do that. But what you could do is these cereal box covers that you put signatures in. Each signature could be different paper. So I might buy a paper pad of watercolor paper, mixed media paper, cut it to whatever size I've made my journal, and I can put it in. I can also mix and match the signatures and have a multitude of papers, just like the ones you can buy, but a little cheaper, and whatever size you want. In fact, this one, which holds 5x7 papers, I just take watercolor cards that are pre-cut for ease, and I put them into, or make a signature with it, for when I want to use my watercolors. Easy peasy. The number two reason that you may want to have more than one art journal is because, well, size matters. You want to match your focal images, the size of your focal images, to the size of your journal paper. If you are using stamps, magazine pictures, focal images from napkins or scrapbook papers, or focal images that come from stencils, you're locked into that size. So you want to have a variety of art journals on the go so that you can use the appropriate size paper. Let's just do a little bit of an example. Mainly I work on the 7x10 Canson Mixed Media or the 9x12. Then I have a variety of other journals, 6x6, 5x7, 7x10, you name it, I probably have it. So if I was going to use this napkin image, you can see that the 9x12, unless I'm going to add other printables and multiples of this napkin focal image, it's being dwarfed on this large page. So I'm going to want to work on something smaller. Maybe the 6x6 signature out of my DIY journal. Maybe it would work better on my 7x10. So again, depending on what I want to do, I may pick one size over another. And having those options allows me to be creative. Likewise, magazine pictures, great source of focal images. And you can see how this interesting magazine clipping would fit on the 9x12, but it would just absolutely take over the 7x10. Now the other reason that size matters is what you plan on doing on the page. And by that I mean, what techniques are you going to use? Now if I was using this focal image, I could kind of crop it a little bit and make it fit. But no matter what I do, not a whole lot of background is going to show. So if I was going to keep it super simple in the background, maybe I would go with a smaller sheet. But if I wanted to do some texture paste and do some other techniques, I want to have that show at the end of it. I don't want to just put the image or the focal image on it and cover up all my work. So I may want some empty space that it's going to allow me to see the work that I've done or to do the techniques that I want to do. If talking about stamped images, again, you're stuck with whatever size they are. You need to match it to the page. So stamped images, typically on a 9x12, are going to be dwarfed on that page. So you're going to want a smaller substrate that will fit. And some stamps are small that they're the perfect for ATC sized or iCAD size, 4x6, 5x7. The third reason that you need more than one art journal is to do different themes or interests. So you may want to have a journal that is all about flowers. This one is just magnolias. I love magnolias. So it is a mini art journal with magnolias. You can have ones about ocean. This is an envelope journal with the theme of the ocean. My gnome book, which is a digital kit, is all about with gnomes. And if you're a cat or dog lover, you can make a little journal just about that. So that's reason number 3 for having more than one art journal. The fourth reason you need more than one art journal is kind of related to the size matters one. You want to match the size of the journal to the time/energy that you have to create. For me, I need to create to be my best. So at different times, I may have more or less time to create. life sometimes takes over. But I absolutely want to continue creating on a regular basis. So if I don't have much time, I may do little ATC. This is a mini zine. I may do a journal like this triangular themed journal. Or this one that's almost an ATC size. Little coiled book that I got at the Dollar Tree. If I have more time, I will pick a larger substrate, maybe my 9x12, and I'll probably be doing a lot more techniques on it. Reason number 5 for having more than one art journal is having art journals at different price points. You may want, like me, to have some that are pre-purchased. My 7x10 Canson Mixed Medium, my 9x12 are really the only ones that I've purchased. Everything else that I have is a repurposed book, a journal that I've made out of gel prints or collage paper, a journal that I may have made out of a theater playbill. When you're working on something that you've spent your hard-earned money on, sometimes we end up in the precious predicament where it freezes up our creativity and freezes us so that we don't create with it because we're afraid of messing it up. Now, one, it's paper and paint. And really, there's nothing you can do that you can't solve, at the very least, with a good coat of gesso. And I think that we need to honor our supplies and the money that we've spent on them by using them. But it's a mind thing, that precious predicament. And this happened to me at the beginning. I faced the page and I was too scared to use it or wreck it. And so I didn't. And then I started using a repurposed book, and there was no risk in my mind. And it freed me up to take the leap, to develop those skills so that now I can go and work on a purchased mixed media journal or on canvases that are even pricier. Reason number 6, you need an art journal for all the leftovers. The stuff that's lying around your studio or your creative space that never quite makes it back into the file. And for that, I have what I've called my accidental art journal. This is simply a $1.25 composition book. And I will link this video and videos to all the different kind of journals that I make in the description box below. If you can't see that, you can, usually the word is more, and if you click on that, it should bring it up. So the accidental art journal, this is where I put leftover collage papers, modeling paste. I scrape leftover paint, tissue paper, random collage focal images. And then over time, the pages evolve and I actually end up turning them into actual pages. The interesting thing about this is, ties into the precious predicament of that I spoke about. Some of these pages are some of my most loved pages. And why? Because I'm not afraid to risk. I'm not afraid to just go for it because, well, this book isn't expensive. It's $1.25 and it's literally made up out of leftovers that I would otherwise be throwing away. Reason number 7 for having more than one art journal, so you can finish and have a sense of accomplishment. Now, I create on quite a regular basis, at least 3, maybe 4 times a week. But I still like to have something done that I can say, look, I'm done. So if you have journals that have a different amount of pages, it allows you to get done, finish something, and then move on. If it was a good experience or a bad experience, it allows you to move on. And that's why I like the mini zines. It's one sheet of paper that ends up being basically, at most, 4 full-size spreads or 8 half-size spreads. Easy to do and finish. This journal right here was made using a playbill like this one. It has a limited amount of pages, and I got it done in a relatively short period of time. And now I have the satisfaction of flipping through it and having accomplished something. Whereas my Canson Mixed Media, there are 60 pages here. I don't quite recoil it because I take them off the coil so I can work flat, and then I put them back on the coil, and I'll link that down below too. But I need to do 30 pages this size before I can recoil it and call this done. Reason number 8 for having more than one art journal is to use different art journals with a different focus or skill. You could have one that you're just going to practice vintage, or you're going to do challenges like the Index Card a Day Challenge, the 100-Day Challenge. There's lots of them posted on Instagram and different things. So you may want to have a journal just for that. You may want to have a journal where you try out different techniques. Speaking of techniques, I did a whole series, a technique tag series, and basically each one of these is a different technique. This is all about using texture, collage, finishing techniques, and these are just tag journals. They're tags that have a ring on them. I call these journals. One thing that I was doing or trying to focus on was faces. So because I lack confidence in that, I didn't want to use anything that was too precious or too expensive. So I used a free flyer from the hardware store, gessoed it up, and I did my faces journal. It's amazing what a coat of gesso on these little mini books. So I've got a few empty pages, but this journal is all about focusing on faces. You could also focus on using different color schemes, experimenting with colors to get out of your comfort zone and using the same colors all the time, or to just experiment and play. Reason number 9 to have more than one art journal is it's great for your creativity to have journals that are in different stages. And by that I mean, I have my gel print journals. They're made out of gel prints, so they have the beginnings of a page. The color scheme is set, some of the pattern is there, and when I am stuck or I don't know what to do, I can flip through these, and maybe something on the page is going to inspire me and give me an idea of what I want to do or what I can do. My accidental art journal is also great for that. And sometimes I will grab it and I will flip through it and I'll go, okay, well, I'm just going to add something to this. Maybe I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just adding one layer. I've got some collage paper, or I've got leftover paint. And then suddenly, at some point in time, I find I get an idea for finishing the page. I don't know where the idea comes from, but you've got to be working on it for the idea to come. This journal that has different signatures, I have some backgrounds that are partially done, some collage papers. I've done some rip and strip. So these are ready to go. And so I'll flip through this and I can say, hey, I want to do this one, or I have an idea for this one. But I also have the blank pages. Options are great for creativity. Reason number 10 to have more than one art journal is, what do you intend to do with your creation? Some of my things, I end up taking the pages and framing it. I mat and I frame them. Some I keep in my journals, in my studio, and I'm going to show you what I do with the art journals when I'm done, because that's a question I get asked quite frequently. But I keep them and I'll flip through them periodically, and I also use it as a portfolio for people who want to commission some of my artwork. They can flip through it and we can talk about what they like, what they don't like, the colors, the patterns, that. So it becomes a portfolio. Some of my art journals, especially the mini ones made out from the gel prints or the mini zines, I use as alternate greeting cards, and I'll mail these out to a friend. So there are the 10 reasons why you should have more than one art journal. But wait, I thought of one more. Portability. We are people on the go. And I don't know about you, but it seems that I spend a lot of time sometimes waiting in doctor's offices, waiting to pick up somebody from soccer or dance. And I may want to use that time to work on my art journal. Now, you don't want a big, bulky art journal that has a lot of supplies. So here's where the little gel print journals that you can make whatever size, the mini zines journals, the flip and fold journals really come in handy, because you can take those journals, an assortment of stamped images or focal images, throw them in a bag with a pair of scissors and a glue stick, and you can create on the go. Likewise, if you travel, I like to take some of my art journaling supplies when I travel. I find I'm seeing different sights and sounds, and I'm really inspired. But sometimes, especially if I'm there for a longer period of time, I have the itch to create. So there, that might be a watercolor journal, because if you're flying places, you really don't want to be taking wet mediums or a lot of mediums. Again, you can still create while on the go if you have the right journal. As promised, I said I would address what I do with my art journals when they're done. As I said, the small ones, I tend to gift as a greeting card alternative. Some I've framed. The majority of them, especially the ones that are in the 7x10 and the 9x12 counts and mixed media pages, I recoil them and I keep them close at hand. I display them in my studio. I can flip and change what I see, so there's an ever-evolving art show in my studio. Even some loose pages, before they get coiled, get displayed. They may not be on canvas, but they are my art, and I like to keep them close at hand. I can grab a journal and flip through it if I'm looking for inspiration while I'm creating. Now, the newest addition in my art studio are these picture ledges. My husband made these for me, and I love them. I'll put a link to similar ones that you can purchase from Amazon if you're interested in having a display for your art journals.